Welcome back to the Abundant Harvest Homestead, and welcome to another episode of Clean Fish with me. Today we're doing gar. These are long-nosed gar, and starting last Sunday, the two I've got here make 28 for us in just over a week. And even today we were only on the water, less than 3 hours. We only got two. But there's a lot of meat on here, and the other one, the next one I'm going to show you, is our longest gar ever, our longest fish ever, but our longest gar ever at almost just shy of 50 inches. The thing's a 10-pounder, and with the amount of meat I'm able to get off of that fish, I'm going to be able to feed my family a meal and have leftovers. So my son and I enjoying some time together out on the lake this morning, and providing essentially 2 meals for the family. When we combine the leftovers from the first one with this one my 9-year-old caught, and we jug fish them right now and then pull them into kayaks. So he got this one, it's just over 36 inches, pulled it in the kayak with him, and he actually grabbed the jug with the other one, but when we saw the size of it, he says, yeah, I'd like a chance to try to get one that big. We didn't realize it was our biggest ever. We just knew it was a big one. He said, but it's more important that we get it right now. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. I said, I'll gladly step in and, take care of that as best I can. It'd be the most likely way of us succeeding and actually getting all that food for the family. So much respect to him for being that wise, even as a 9-year-old. But I want to talk a little bit. If you see, man, you got a crazy drought going on a lot of places. You've got all sorts of things with shipments acting up. Some potential stuff with trains now too. We've seen the shipping containers and the cargo ships for a while. All sorts of other stuff going on, guys. And, if you don't have an opportunity to get stuff at the store, things get disrupted a little more. That could be real possible. Or what if something happens like it did the other year? And I mention this because I don't want people to forget, where certain things are just non-essential, we will not let you buy them. Kind of dangerous. Kind of dangerous. So I'm going to try to give you guys a little bit of good food for thought about how to prepare your family, your property, your existence to kind of have a wall of protection around some of the vulnerability that the general systems we have set up right now are susceptible to. So one thing to think about is water. I may do a video in the near future where I go to a couple local springs. I won't exactly tell everyone where I am or where they are or those type of things, but just to show you that water in certain places of the country is literally bubbling up out of the ground. Just bubbling up out of the ground. Flowing. Starting streams, starting creeks, starting rivers. That happens some places. Other places, for years now, they've had to pump it in from other places. They don't even have their own. They're talking about potentially making like a canal from the Mississippi River heading out west. That's an idea people are kicking around right now. Very interesting to think about. So one thing, without water, that's a boneless backstrap right there. Met a guy at the gas station last night. I showed up just after hours and I only had cash. Sometimes I don't like to track every purchase I make or every location I was with my credit cards. Still do it with my phone sometimes, but I showed up after hours, so I paid a fellow cash to put his card in and let me, pump some gas so I could actually head out this morning. And he did, but I mentioned fishing for gar in the morning. He goes, you eat those? And I go, yeah. And he goes, I've never heard of anyone doing that. He's a guy, and I would guess, lived his whole life around these parts. Seen him on the shore lots of times, because that's where the fishermen and bow fishermen chuck them. But he never heard of anyone eating them. And I said, dude, that is my top target species right now. They're so good. And I told him a bit about it, because I don't mind cluing people in. But anyway, without water, there's not life. And water is one of those super vulnerable ways that people, because it's so readily available for your entire life so far, you're not always thinking about how important it is. But imagine in the city if the water supply got shut down. It's not very long and everything at the stores is ransacked and gone. It's not very long after that everyone's sewage is backing up, you know, or the power's out. The sewage is backing up, and not a lot of people even have filtration systems. Really, I would totally buy a life straw. Spend 20 bucks where you can just punch a couple buttons on the computer and get one. Then you know, go check it out sometimes. Get a water bottle that filters too. You can buy those filtration system right in. That's the easiest way to go. Now you can get water purification tablets, you can buy bigger filters. I'd recommend having a Berkey or something on hand as well. But the easiest way to go is just to pick up a Life Straw little water bottle. You know, it looks like this almost. And you can fill it with yucky water, drink it, it's clean water. It's a good way to go. And for a lot of people, they're considering moving from where they are because it's been a dry and thirsty land for a bit. And if they really want to mess things up, all they gotta do is let it be a little drier and thirstier, and there's not even life there. It can't sustain life. So, or at least not human life the way that we've been living for a while. And the one thing everyone keeps kind of mentioning is, hey, if you want to move somewhere, that could be a good thing, but boy, depending on your ideologies, depending on your viewpoints on things, they say don't bring your ideas with you. There's a lot of messed up ideas in this world right now, and I was just considering myself even, because it's all about niceness and pleasantries, and you don't want to offend anyone and that type of stuff. And I want to reserve my right to offend you, even you. Yeah, you. I do. I want to reserve my right to offend you, because if I'm not able to run the risk of offending you, then you're kind of almost forced to like me. You shouldn't be forced to like anyone. You shouldn't be forced to, you know. Another one. Not the biggest, but when I combine them with the other one, that's going to be awesome. And all that's left is like a third of that fish. But that's the big thing these days is like, oh, well, you don't want to offend somebody. You don't want to whatever. It's like, well, you see what offends people these days? Oh, look at that, guys. This is a 10-pounder. This is almost 50 inches. It's 49 3/4 inches. My boy pulled it up next to his kayak. We saw it and he's like, yeah, Dad, take it. That's the longest fish we ever caught. And until recently, I've not even really worked on my relationship with the lake in this way that I can get, you know, if I needed to, this could be 2 meals for my family. One strip down that side, have one meal, one strip down that side, another meal, have a fish. And this is something that man often will tell you is trash fish, and people will chuck on the shore down there at the lake. By the way, if you've not done so already, please consider subscribing to our fishing channel. I'll link a card up over here. But that fishing channel is there for more than one reason. One reason is just a lot of the things I say on this channel have kind of got my channel periodically suppressed. And sometimes people show up and go, oh man, you should have way more subscribers and other things. And it's like, yeah, it's encouraging the first couple times you hear that, but after that you're just like, and with any of these channels here on YouTube, you're a guest in somebody else's house, they could take it away from you at any time. So while you are here, consider subscribing to this channel if you've not already done so, and consider subscribing to our fishing channel. You can see my son and I, or in the near future, you'll be able to see us catch this fish. That was awesome. I love memories like that, especially ones that provide food for the family. But also, if something happens to our main channel here, I want to be able to find you guys and have you guys find us. If you're already subscribed to our backup channel, for some reason the main channel goes down, they take that away from me, you guys can still remain connected to us as a family, and you know, we'll discern where to go from there as far as moving forward. But also, I'm trying to grow that fishing channel right now and get it up to where maybe even potentially by the end of this year it's monetized. Just because if I have it as a backup channel, I want to be able to have it kind of ready to go if I need to as well. And so if you would, consider subscribing to it and watch some of the playlists. Just check some of the stuff out. There's even a full hour-long video of me with some of my children catching 12 of these one morning from kayaks. Not all this size. One was almost. But that said, that is amazing how easy that peels off of there. That said, water is one of those things. The lake is nearby. Worst case scenario, I can get water out of the lake, and that can be used for a lot of things. Like I said, it's also just bubbling out of the ground some places not too far from me. And the lake also provides me things like this. I want to really learn the lake, master my domain. I haven't completely done that, but this is just evidence with 28 of these in the past week, past 8 days anyway. Evidence of us kind of stepping up our game, learning a little bit more about our environment we live in. And that's kind of the second thing, is the food. Man, first of all, I'm glad they started putting a lot of things on the labels of food, because there's a lot of food that just because of a couple little things it says, we can no longer buy as a family. We just can't. We can't bring ourselves to do it. There's no good in it. So because they let us know ahead of time, we're just like, yeah, okay. We didn't really need that anyway. But then the rest of the stuff that you even could eat, so much of it is not good for you at the stores. With everything that's been learned in the past bit about the human body and how we interact with, you know, the world around us and all these different things, we should be so healthy right now. We should be such a healthy people, but we're not. We're incredibly sick. Part of that is just wanting people to be cash cows. If we can just kind of have them not be doing so good and then pay to survive, then the business can make more money. But a lot of that's, you know, it's what we put into our bodies too. You cannot trust the stuff at the store kind of in the first place, but then also you can't trust the stuff in the store to always be there. So what are you doing? I never went hunting for deer till I moved down here. Now it's one of our main sources of wild meat, you know, is deer, is hunting. The other one being fishing. But I just like smoked some backstrap from last year in my smokehouse. That was amazing. I love it. Stay back from that chicken, child. Girls, I want to ask you a question. Smell that.
Smells really good.
Yeah? You know what that is?
Brisket.
Venison backstrap. One more smell. You guys ready for dinner? Yeah. And I love being able to, you know, harvest a deer from the wild and then grab some logs, some wood from my property. Next thing you know, we've got a delicious meal. And it's all pretty much the way it was intended to be. It's not processed. You know, I was talking with a midwife the other day, and she was talking about just our bodies and stuff, and how some people can eat certain things and others just like get sick if they try to eat like day-old leftovers because they're so used to different stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you know, our stomach used to be able to process all sorts of stuff. Now, so much of the food we eat is so processed already, you know, we just ain't got a stomach for it. Ugh, this is a huge chunk of meat. I mean, and this rivals a backstrap out of a deer. But anyway, you might want to learn how to hunt. You might want to learn how to fish. You might want to live somewhere you can raise animals for milk, meat, and eggs. You might want to even milk animals like we do with our sheep. We also, I mean, my daughter just finished milking our cow this morning, but we milk our sheep when we have the opportunity. We used to milk our goats when we had goats. Look at that, guys. That's one big boneless backstrap. If somebody tells you a gar are too bony, they're ignorant. That simply means they do not know. Look at that. But you're also, besides having some animals, and then again have animals that reproduce, figure out gardening, figure it out. Now is the time. And then you'll see too how important water is. We're not gardening this year. We're giving our land a Sabbath year of rest, but there's stuff that came up on its own. You should see like how horrible the blackberries are doing just because of the lack of water. This is probably one of the thirstier years I remember down here. But yeah, water is super important, guys. Another thing is, you know, food, right? Water, clothing, shelter. I know Sanctified Supply Company, we're working with them to get some stuff available for you guys. Number one, I like small companies, not big companies, and especially when big companies do a horrible job, like I believe Teespring does, then I would much rather stick with the quality stuff that Sanctified Supply Company does over something like Teespring. Now, cool thing is, I still have a Teespring stuff below our below this video. If it messes up, they've been good about replacing it, so that's why I leave that link up there. It's kind of like you get 2 for 1. You just got to be super careful with them, because if you treat it like a regular shirt, that first one ain't gonna last. But you know, Sanctified Supply Company, they make t-shirts, and they're looking into different things, like how to make clothing, because one day they think that we might need to be figuring that out. I think that's super cool. And then of course shelter too. Man, shelter. You gotta have somewhere to be. You gotta be able to live somewhere. Maybe that's not staying in the city. Maybe that is getting out to the country. Maybe it is trying to start from scratch. You wouldn't believe the amount of people we've met since moving down here, who honestly, guys, for a season, live in campers, live in tents, live in tiny, tiny houses while they wait to be able to afford the next step of their life. If you're not willing to make short-term sacrifices to accomplish long-term goals, you may not be willing to accomplish your long-term goals. We have learned to do without a lot of stuff, and we've also learned to appreciate things like this that plenty of people just would never even try. It's just so ingrained into their heads that this is horrible. They never even try it. No frame of reference for the reality of it, just all based on hearsay. That's kind of part of the epitome of ignorance, you know. I don't know nothing about it personally. Somebody else told me it was bad. They don't know nothing about it personally. I don't think there's any need for that. But we've learned how to do without with a lot of stuff, because we're not going to go into debt to accomplish things. We're gonna be able to afford things as we move forward. We're going to be able to save our money. That's the way we want to live. So it's amazing too, if you think about it. In the past 8 days, 4 of those days I went fishing. Each of those days I woke up somewhere between about 4:30 a.m. and 5 a.m. and we were mostly off the lake. Sometime usually during the 8 o'clock hour at the latest, if not sooner. Today we were off the lake before 8 a.m. But then that gets me back home, and after cleaning the fish, it's still an early day. I'm still able to have a whole day ahead of me. I just lost out on some sleep and had a wonderful time with some of my children, providing some food for the family. But part of being able to do that is freeing ourselves up. Freeing ourselves up where we don't have this incredible amount of interest that we have to pay every single month, and this incredible amount of bills that we have to pay every month. So that financial burden's kind of off the shoulders. And then we got a little more free time because we're not constantly having to hustle, you know, at a 9 to 5. And then we're able to have hobbies, and then our hobbies generate food, which drops the cost of living even more. And then, yeah, look at that, guys. The next thing you know, we're eating like kings and enjoying it all together and having the memories from it. I'm gonna show you this a little closer. But look at that fish. Yeah. Look at the size of that head. Look at the size of that head compared to my arm. That thing, it just, crazy animal. With some things too, do a preemptive strike. Maybe you still got good water where you're at. Maybe it's not quite as dry and thirsty as some other places. Take a look into the future. Take a look at the things that are going to be happening. Think about how solid that supply really is, or if it's actually pretty susceptible to potential issues in the future. If it is, what can you do to make it better? Right now, I've got a big old IBC tote over there. I've got some other barrels and stuff. I got a gutter up on this lean-to, but I want to set some stuff up to do more water catchment. I want to be catching that. That's illegal some places. Boy, if it might be illegal here later, maybe they'll at least grandfather us in or something if we got it set up first. But if we don't have it set up first, they can't grandfather us in because we ain't got it set up. You know, think like that. What can you do right now? I'll tell you what, I was looking at one of my pear trees, the first YouTube payout we ever got. Thanks to subscribers like you guys, viewers like you guys, we finally got it monetized, and I said, well, let's do something that makes sense. So we bought some fruit trees. You should see the pears on our pear tree. That's because of y'all, but guess what? There's some on there this year, and there's gonna be more next year probably, and then the next year, and then the next year. Think like that. Eventually, I'm gonna like to sit under the shade of a tree. It's getting kind of hot out here. But more than that, I wanna eat something, so I can plant fruit trees, you know? We're actually learning some stuff about turning deer hides into clothing too. That's something else we're doing. And I'm getting better at building out of free sources and cheap resources. It's that food, clothing, shelter, water stuff that I'm trying to master. I'm trying to step up my game. I'm set up all right, but I need to be set up a whole lot better. And chances are you guys are too. So thanks for cleaning a couple fish with me. You can see how long those 2 took. That's why I didn't film the 12 that we pulled in last Sunday morning, but I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you want. Papa out.
Thank you for watching. Hit the like button. Thumbs up. For real.
The cow head is good?
Yeah.
That's because you know.